Hello everybody and welcome to another live research session on Twitch, twitch.tv/diary of a pro gambler. And in this live stream we will be taking a deep dive into the fight between Jung and Mike Rodriguez. And of course, Jung is one of our favourites. He hooked us up big time earlier on this year when we bet him to beat Kadis Ibragimov. Here you can see the bet here on my website. We bet on Jung in his UFC debut against Ibragimov, and he came through for us in a big way because he was a big underdog. So Jung actually turned out to be one of our most profitable bets of the year. So great to see him setting foot back in the octagon. Great to see him back in the octagon this weekend against Mike Rodriguez. But this is obviously a very, very tough matchup for him. Rodriguez is extremely dangerous. So what we will be doing in this live stream or video, if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, is we will be taking a real deep dive into Jung's fights before he got into the UFC. And I will also be summarizing my research from what I found from watching some of Rodriguez's fights that I can't share with you because obviously they are locked down under copyright protection on Fight Pass. So the fights that I've watched from Rodriguez are these 4 fights here. Don't believe I need to watch any more on Rodriguez because I feel like these 4 fights give us a real good overall picture of what Rodriguez brings to the table. So it shouldn't be any real need to go into any more depth on Rodriguez, but really the question is finding out a bit more about Jung to see if there's a betting opportunity on this fight, because at the moment, from watching Rodriguez, there's some things that he does very well and there's some things that he is completely terrible at, and realistically you would expect anyone at the highest level of mixed martial arts to be able to exploit Mike Rodriguez's weaknesses. Before we get into talking about this fight, I just want to remind you all that I will be live streaming a hell of a lot this week. Of course, I'm going to be doing all the live stream research sessions for the UFC fights on UFC Korea this weekend on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll leave a link in the description below for these live streams. And also, if you are a VIP or elite member on my website, I do have this new live stream area of the website where you can come and watch me research every fight for this weekend's upcoming Bellator cards. We've got Bellator 235 on Friday night. We've just received full card odds for that tonight. They've just started to be posted on some websites. And also then on Saturday night after the UFC, we've got Bellator 236. And we've also got full card odds for those fights as well. So if you want to join me in researching these fights, I will be doing a live stream, like I say, on my website, and I will schedule in the exact time that this live stream for Bellator is going to start within the next few days. And also don't forget to join my Telegram group. There you see the Telegram group there. I will leave a link to that in the description on YouTube below as well, because if you download the Telegram app on your phone, click the link in the description to join my Telegram group. Every time I start one of these live streams on either Twitch or my website, you will receive a notification that I've gone live, so you won't miss out on any content. And now let's jump into this fight, because it is a very, very interesting one from a betting point of view. And at the moment, I'm finding potential reasons to bet either Rodriguez and Jung based on the 5 fights from both these guys I've already watched. So hoping with you guys we can learn a little bit more about Jung to help us make a better betting decision on this matchup. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about Mike Rodriguez. So Mike Rodriguez trains under Joe Lauzon at Lauzon MMA in New York. If we keep scrolling down, I'm sure we're going to see some training pictures of Rodriguez. You can quite often see Lauzon in his corner. Here's a guy in his team wearing a Lauzon MMA t-shirt. If we keep scrolling, probably won't take long to find a picture of Rodriguez with Lauzon. I believe this is Calvin Kattar here with Rodriguez. Very, very nice. I think that is Calvin Kattar. But if we keep scrolling down, Yeah, here he is. This is Mike Rodriguez, and this is Joe Lauzon, although this looks like a pretty old picture. Now, the irony is obviously, Joe Lauzon, primarily a grappler. You would expect Lauzon MMA to be a predominantly grappling-based gym, but the irony is that Mike Rodriguez's takedown defense, well, I can't even talk about Mike Rodriguez's takedown defense because he doesn't have any. Think of Jermaine de Randamie's performance against Amanda Nunes this past weekend and how poor de Randamie's takedown defense looked. Rodriguez is at that level. Completely terrible takedown defense. Now, he's a little bit better at defending himself on the ground, a little bit better at working his way back to his feet, but make no mistake, Rodriguez is a white belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the ground at best. So Rodriguez is a high-level kickboxer. Very, very dangerous standing, similar to de Randamie in that respect. But has absolutely no takedown defense and no ground game at all. So that's what Rodriguez brings to the table. But that might not matter in this fight. A lot of the time you look at a fighter like Rodriguez and you think, well, if he hasn't got any takedown defense and ground game, there's no way that I can bet him. But that might not be the case here, because Da Jung, at least in his fight against Kadis Ibragimov, he had no intentions of taking this fight to the ground. I know that he won by standing guillotine choke, but this was really Ibragimov just gifting a guillotine to him on a plate. And what I will say about Rodriguez is that even though he is a white belt level on the ground, I have still seen him fight out of a couple of submission attempts. He's not completely hopeless on the ground. If he got put in a really bad position, he'd be screwed. But it's not like he's just totally going to quit either. And it was a very strange submission, really, this one. It looked to me a bit like Ibragimov quit. But if we go through Da Jung's record, obviously I just said against Ibragimov, there were so many opportunities where Ibragimov was gassed out of his mind, flat-footed, hands down by his side, and the takedown was there all day for Da Jung, and he just never chose to shoot in on Ibragimov. He chose to continue keeping the fight standing, which is a sign to me that he doesn't really go to his wrestling, or he doesn't even have any wrestling. I mean, he does have a win here by arm triangle. He does have a win by ground and pound here. So there are a couple of wins that indicates that he knows what he's doing on the ground. But having said that, like I say, certainly the Ibragimov fight makes it look like Da Jung's primarily a striker, just like Rodriguez, and that's interesting because if this fight does stay standing, this could be a very, very difficult fight for Da Jung. But let's just talk a little bit more specifically, I guess, about what Mike Brown, this guy could do in Mike Brown's. He could do with learning some takedown defense. But let's talk a little bit about what Rodriguez brings to the table. So like I said, no takedown defense, no ground game. He is a southpaw. Oh, actually, tell you what, let's just stay with grappling before we get to his striking. So no takedown defense, no ground game. But what I would say is, because he's a big, strong, powerful guy at 6'4" with an 82.5-inch reach, he does an okay job of getting back to his feet. Kind of. I mean, he still allows his opponents to flatten his shoulders out on the canvas, but at the same time, he understands how he can use the cage wall as a tool to get back to his feet. He does that well. He does consciously try and work his way back to his feet. He's just very green on the ground, very, very low level there. What else can we say about his grappling? So I would also say another big criticism I have of Rodriguez's grappling is that he really doesn't show any urgency to get his back off the cage. So I'm not sure if this will be a factor in this fight, because like I say, in Jung's UFC debut against Ibragimov, as well as there being opportunities to take Ibragimov down and dominate him from top position when Ibragimov got very tired in that second round, there's also opportunities there to just drive Ibragimov into the cage, beat him up in the clinch, and just wear on Ibragimov a little bit. Jung didn't show any intention of doing that either. He purely wanted to keep the fight in kickboxing range. But what I would say is, in the clinch, Rodriguez is one of these guys that just accepts having his back against the cage and doesn't show any urgency to circle his back off the cage or prevent his opponent from controlling his body, which is a lot of the time what leads to him getting taken down so easily, because when you get in on his body with a body lock, he just doesn't know what to do, and he almost always ends up on his back because of it. So, what else? Okay, let's talk a little bit about his striking. So, his striking is very, very good. He's a very high-level kickboxer, fights out of the southpaw stance, and he's very good defensively. What I've noticed about Rodriguez is when he's not letting his hands go, he's always got his hands up in a high boxing guard. So, it's very, very difficult to catch him with big shots, because when you come forward and attack, he's already got his boxing guard up high, and when you're trying to counter him, he's very aware that as soon as he's completed his combination, he's got to go straight back to the high boxing guard. So usually by the time you've had a chance to think about countering, he's already protecting himself. So Rodriguez's striking defense is very good, but I will just leave an asterisk next to what I've just said, because there is a slight, MMA is a very complex sport. There is a slight asterisk that needs to go next to me saying Rodriguez has amazing striking defense, because like with anything in MMA, it's complicated. What else can we say about him? Yeah, so great kickboxing, throws a wide range of strikes, super technical, very, very fast, very explosive, vicious KO power in every strike. He's a nightmare. He's an absolute nightmare if the fight stays standing. Now, we said that there was an asterisk next to me saying Rodriguez has amazing striking defense, and that's because Rodriguez has amazing striking defense in a kickboxing match or when the fight is standing. But I've noticed that I'm not going to say Rodriguez has bad cardio, but what I will say is if you can tie him up, make him work in the clinch, if you can take him down in the first round, make him work, force him to exert energy to get back to his feet, then I'm not going to say Rodriguez gasses out, but he does become significantly sloppier as the fight goes on. So whereas in the first round, you'll see him very light on his feet, very fast, very technical with his strikes, excellent defense. His defense is rock solid. It's very hard to split his boxing guard and hurt him with anything, land anything big. If you can make him grapple, he does become a hell of a lot sloppier. His defense does kind of go by the wayside, and he does become very hittable into the second and third rounds if you've made him grapple, early on in the fight. I can't say whether he will become equally sloppy in a stand-up fight, simply because the way that, if you look at how many first-round finishes this guy's got, the way that Rodriguez's fights tend to go is he either smokes his opponent by KO in round one using his striking, in which case, we don't get to see his cardio tested in a stand-up fight, because he just starches guys early, and then in a situation where he is forced to grapple, he does slow down and become sloppy, and inevitably, because of his bad takedown defense, always ends up losing these decisions against like John Allen and Devin Clark. So, even here we can see he got submitted by a goddamn toe hold in 2016. No one should be getting submitted by toe holds at the highest level of MMA, which just goes to show how low level this guy is on the ground. So, I'm really in two minds at the moment in how to approach this fight. And obviously, we need to learn a lot more about Da Un Jung here, because if Da Un Jung gets into a kickboxing match, Rodriguez definitely has the technical advantage. He's a significantly better striker than Da Un Jung, but it doesn't mean, ironically, that Da Un Jung will win a fight. Will lose the fight if it stays standing. Believe it or not, Da Un Jung actually has passed the victory, although in order to win a stand-up fight, Jung is going to have to walk through absolute hell. If we take a look at the odds on this fight, it's currently around about dead even. We've actually seen Rodriguez's odds improve today, which I'm guessing is because people have started to see his takedown defense and ground game exposed. If we take a look at the current odds, so we're looking at average odds available on Rodriguez at the moment of around about 1.80, which is minus 125 for an implied probability of 56%. And then if we look at Da Un Jung, roughly about dead even money at 2.0, which is plus 100 for an implied probability about 50%. So roughly a 50-50 fight in the eyes of the bookie, with Rodriguez obviously being a slight favourite. So, a minute ago, I just said that Da Jung can win the fight standing, albeit unlikely. So how can he do that? So, if you go back and watch Rodriguez's last 4 fights, you will see, like I've just said, that he becomes sloppier as the fight goes on. Now, I don't know if he'll only become sloppy in a fight where he's made to grapple, or if he'll become sloppy anyway because he just puts so much into every attack. What I would say is, if Rodriguez can maintain his style of fighting for 15 minutes across 3 rounds in a stand-up fight, how he looks in round 1. So what I'm trying to say is, trying to get my words out, if Rodriguez can fight for 3 rounds in a stand-up fight like he's looked in the first round of all these fights where he hasn't had to grapple, he's a fucking nightmare. And he's going to be a very, very tough matchup for Jung. Because if Rodriguez is just as technical in the first minute as he is in the 15th minute, Jung's in big trouble. Because Jung is a very basic striker. You know, flat-footed, doesn't really move his head much, not very good striking defense, slow hand speed. You know, he's there to be hit and doesn't really have too much power in his hands either. So if Rodriguez keeps this fight standing, he can stay light on his feet, fast, technical, explosive, powerful for 15 minutes. It's going to be a long night for Jung. But what you see a lot of the time with big guys like Rodriguez is that they look great in round 1. You know, light on their feet, fast, explosive, technical, everything I've just said. But because they're so aggressive, and because everything they throw is to try and get their opponent out of there, when their opponent hangs in there and you don't finish them, these sort of fighters like Mike Rodriguez, they often tend to slow down and become a lot less dangerous into the 2nd and 3rd round. So they either become, you know, more flat-footed, not as fast, not as powerful, a little bit sloppier. And Da Jung fits the profile of your trademark Korean fighter. You know, if we think about, you know, different nationalities in the UFC or MMA in general, you know, different nationalities, different races of people tend to have different characteristics. And, you know, I don't know what it is, but Koreans are just so fucking tough. And they've got such great chins. Like, if you think about all the Koreans, you know, that we've got in the UFC, even on this card, you know, guys like Korean Zombie, you know, guys like Do-Ho Choi, you know, absolute warriors. Even Dong Young Ma, who's been knocked out on several occasions, but even Dong Young Ma is an absolute warrior, the kind of guy that you have to kill in order to put out. You know, if you look at the profile of Korean fighters in the UFC, very tough, very good cardio, very good chins, very difficult to put away. And while Da Jung is nowhere near as skilled as Mike Rodriguez when it comes to striking, if the best fighters always won, we'd be very rich, right? Because this sport would be very predictable. It's very easy to identify who the better fighter is. But I have a feeling that Da Jung might be able to just Homer Simpson his way to a win here. Because what I noticed about Ibragimov was that he just walked through Ibragimov's shots. You know, he ate some bombs and he toughed it out, obviously. Ibragimov's nowhere near as dangerous as Rodriguez. But Jung is tough, man, and he's got a good chin. So it's possible, if he can survive round 1 against Rodriguez, you know, walk through his shots, walk through the fire, Homer Simpson him, zombie him, take him into the 2nd and 3rd round where Rodriguez may start to slow down. I could see Da Jung having a lot of success, but I'm purely talking based on his UFC debut against Ibragimov, and I'm hoping we learn a lot more about Da Jung now in these fights we're going to watch together, because, you know, if Da Jung shows any willingness to take his opponents down and beat him up on the ground, he could be a very good bet, because like I say, Rodriguez looks like he trains with Jermaine Durandame instead of Joe Lozon. No takedown offense and no ground game. So before we get into watching some of Jung's past fights, let me just catch up on Twitch. So Sneaky X2. No, I didn't live bet him, dude. Did not live bet him. Beep beep in my Jeep is saying it was the hug you as hard as you can tactic from Jermaine. Yep. I'm not sure how someone like Jermaine has been able to compete at the highest level of the sport for so long and literally have absolutely no takedown defense. Absolutely no takedown defense. D. Smith is saying Rodriguez is too easy to take down, but I like his cage work. Middle of the ring, he's fucked. Yes, good point, man. Good point, D. Smith. Yeah, just to back up what I said earlier, D. Smith just said the same thing as well. If Rodriguez gets taken down close to the cage, he does a pretty good job of using the cage to stand back up. You take him down the middle of the cage, like D. Smith said, completely fucked. Flatten his shoulders out on the canvas, he's useless. Master by Jazz is saying max effort this week, boys. I cut corners on my research last week and paid the price. Oh, unlucky Jazz, mate. But thing is, Jazz, dude, no one's perfect, man. You know what I mean? No one is perfect, mate. And at the end of the day, like, the most important thing is that you own it, man. You just owned it. You told us all you just cut corners on your research and paid the price. So that's fine, man, because you're not going to make the same mistake again. Now you felt the pain, dude. You learn from your mistakes and you won't do it again, man. Do you know what I mean? So that's quality, Mastered by Jazz. I'm sure you're going to crush it this week, dude. Good luck, mate. Good luck, dude. I hope you do crush it, dude. Mac Attack is saying, oh, yes, thank you, mate. Thanks. Yeah, my throat's loads better, dude. No sore throat anymore, man. It's gone. I do have the Strepsils on hand, but I don't need them anymore. Yeah, I'm all good. Just in time for Christmas. Just in time for this marathon of MMA we got this weekend. Tasmanian 187. Shout out to you, Taz, one of my VIP members, dude. Oh, pretty much everyone in here is one of my VIPs, I think. Shout out to you all. But it's easier to spot Taz. He's got the same username on my website. Tasmanian is saying prefer to pass on fights with too many ifs. Yes, mate. Wise words from Tasmanian. Definitely wise words from Tasmanian. Although the Barrio fight's giving me a massive headache, you know. Because, you know, he's tempting. He is tempting for sure with how bad Park's takedown defense is. We've talked about that fight enough. I still need to give it some thinking. So Scar17 saying, do you know what lead Dosis is tipping for soccer tomorrow? Especially the Barca versus Real game. Desperate to get a bet on for that game to make things more interesting. I'm not sure, man, but Lidosis, he was online quite a lot today in the chat room. So this is it, boys. Just hit up the chat room, mmabettingtips.com/chat room, or on any page, go to community chat rooms. Anyone can access this. It's free. I'm sure Lidosis will be online tomorrow talking about the football, dude. And yes, Lidosis is a beast. Lidosis told me earlier on that he is actually betting full time at the moment, so shout out to you, Lidosis, man. I remember when Lidosis joined me as an elite member. It was just after I did the Fight Disciples podcast in August 2018, and he joined me just after the podcast. I remember back then he used to message me like every day, like we'd have losing nights, and he'd message me like fucking stressed, basically stressed out that we'd made a loss, very stressed in fact. But then stuck with me, man, and then fuck me. Over the last year, he has absolutely crushed it, and now he's full-time betting, which is amazing. Obviously, across MMA and his football bets, he's doing great at. So Ben Mooney saying, "Hey mate, will there be a way to watch the research streams on your website afterwards if we don't get to catch them live?" So Ben Mooney 85, interesting question. There's not a way for me to watch the... Sorry. So basically, I do... Let me just talk about this so it makes sense. So my answer to your question will make sense. So Ben Mooney is asking, if you don't catch the live research sessions on my website when they happen, is there a way to watch them after the fact on like YouTube or Twitch or even on the website? And the answer is no, because I wasn't sure if it would be legal for me to do this. So what I did, over the 3-week break in the UFC schedule, I went and basically talked to a solicitor, or they call them lawyers in the United States, right? And I said to him, look, there's free content available for anyone to view online in the form of past fights. So The past Bellator fights are available on Bellator.com. The KSW fights are on YouTube. PFL fights, you know what I'm saying. These fights are available for anyone to view online. So I discussed with him the laws around fair use. And I said, basically, what I want to do is take 3 fights that are available online, watch them together with a live audience, commentate them, break them down from a technical point of view, describe what is happening, and basically asked him, am I able to do that by law without getting into trouble? And his basic question was, are you creating a completely new piece of work? And of course I am creating a new piece of work, because the live streams that we do is stitching loads of different fights together to compare fighters and ultimately come up with a brand new piece of work. And if anything, it is helping the promotions that I feature in these live streams, because if I draw more attention to small promotions like Bellator, PFL, KSW, Combate, LFA, Ryzen 1, Cage Warriors, ultimately more people are then going to go and watch these promotions. So he strongly believes, my lawyer strongly believes, that these live streams fall under fair use, because I'm creating a completely new product with existing content that's available for free anyway. But the complicated situation comes where if I were to take their fights and put them into a live stream and then upload that live stream onto, say, like a web platform on my site to watch after the fact, or YouTube or Twitch, then that becomes a bit more of a grey area, because these fights that I'm using are obviously available on like the Bellator website for anyone to watch for free. But if I then take them and put them in my own live streams, and then people search for the fights and my live streams come up on Google instead of Bellator.com, then ultimately I'm taking money out of Bellator's pocket. I'm taking views away from Bellator. So for that reason, legally, I don't want to get into that. I'm quite confident that my lawyer has said live streams, one time only. When they're done, they're done. You can do that under fair use. But if you start taking other people's content and making it available for anyone to view at any time online, that becomes a little bit sketchier. So I'm trying to stay on the right side of the law with this. So the answer is no, I will not be able to make these live streams available after the fact, but you can watch them on the website, no problem. And if you join the Twitch channel, you'll get notifications when I go live. And of course, if we do find any bets on the live streams and you are a member of my website, you will get an email notification as soon as we find them. So I hope that answers your question, dude. So yeah, don't think I'm being a bastard by not uploading them after. I'm just trying to stay on the right side of the law, which when it comes to fair use is really complicated, actually. But yeah, hope that makes sense anyway. And Irish Brother 40 saying, can Jung gas out Rodriguez? Yes, possible, mate. He might be able to. I would feel a lot more confident answering that question, though, if we watch some of Jung's fights now and see him use some wrestling, because he didn't use any against Ibragimov, even though he had lots of really good opportunities to do so. Joe Banks saying, Jung showed a decent double leg in a few of his regional fights. Oh, thanks, Joe. That'll be good to look into that now, mate. That will be good. And loads of Jung's fights are available online to watch as well. Pretty much all of these. We got tons of footage we can watch on him. Definite Integral saying you're the BMF in this game, mate. Oh, thanks a lot, Integral, man. I appreciate that, dude. Definitely didn't feel like a BMF during the Holloway fight while I was watching Volkanovski completely dominate. But, that's the way it goes. Gambling is brutal. Especially MMA. It can be a bastard. D. Smith saying, I researched Moreno super hard and liked Kai as a bet. That motherfucker Moreno came out as southpaw ripping head kicks. Exactly, mate. Everyone's talking about the Holloway versus Volkanovski fight this week and how much better Volkanovski looked than usual. But there were loads more examples on this card about how or why betting on MMA can be such a minefield. I mean, you could have like literally surveyed 1,000 MMA fans last week and asked them how, you know, the Usman and Colby fight was going to play out, and absolutely none of them would have said they were going to get into a 25-minute kickboxing match. Usman or Colby, between the two of them, neither of them attempted a single takedown in like 23 minutes the entire fight. No one could have predicted that. It's just a crazy sport, and like D. Smith said, you know, Moreno came out in that second and third round against Kara France just looking amazing. Like, if you go back and watch Moreno's past fights against guys like Alexandre Pantoja, I've actually watched Moreno's fight against Pantoja just a couple of days ago, literally from 18 months ago. If you go back and watch this fight, Moreno looked sloppy, slow, flat-footed. His striking was so basic, and Pantoja completely picked him apart. And then if you go and watch him in that second and third round against Kara France, it's literally like looking at a different human being. It's just ultimately, like, when people like talk about MMA in such a basic way, like, you know, like how could you not have known Moreno was gonna look like that against Kara France? It was so obvious. Or how could you not have known Volkanovski was gonna throw leg kicks for like the first time ever? How could you not have known these things? And it's kind of like, bro, to reach the highest level of anything in life, you have to be extremely good at learning from your mistakes and constantly improving. And newsflash, if you're a fighter, if you're an athlete that has reached the UFC, chances are you're pretty good at learning from your mistakes and improving. So it's no surprise that from one fight to the next, fighters are likely to show up with completely new skills you've never seen before that you couldn't account for because they've never used them. And Moreno was an extremely good example of this. You know, take away, you know, if you think I'm biased about Volkanovski, Holloway, whatever, forget about that fight. If you want to see what I've just talked about, like, in the flesh, go and watch Brandon Moreno's fight from May 2018, which is only 18 months ago. Go watch his fight against Alexandre Pantoja. Then go watch his fight this past weekend against Kara France, and tell me you could have predicted he'd look like that against Kara France based on his performance against Pantoja. It's crazy. And that's the game we played. That's why it is difficult to make money on pre-fight betting. It is a minefield, but ultimately it can be done. We've had a good year so far in 2019, banked a solid profit this year, and I'm sure we're going to do even better in 2020. But yeah, you've just got to be prepared to take losses like that on the chin, mate, because Moreno, he looked a hell of a lot better than he has in the past. That was another unlucky one that I forgot about, dude. So yeah, unlucky, mate, unlucky. Hilty saying he thought Lee Dosis was a bot. Yeah, that's right, mate. That's right. I need to put that bot back in his box. I think the bot is sleeping at the moment. You know, bots shouldn't be sleeping. They should be trying to find us good value football bets. How rude. Mac Attack saying, oh yeah, it's all good, Mac Attack. No worries, man. D Smith saying that Moreno's a savage. In all the fights that I watched from him, he was orthodox and super sloppy. And then against Kara France, he was southpaw and super crisp. Yeah, it's a twat, mate. It's a bastard. This MMA is unpredictable, man. Master by Jazz said, I bet the over on the Chase Hooper fight. Holy shit. Did that cash? When did Hooper get the finish? Did you bet over 1.5 rounds? Did he finish in the first or the second? I can't remember. I think it was right at the end of the first, wasn't it? So that would have lost. Unlucky Jazz. Yeah, Gucci Sniper. Exactly, man. I dodged a bullet. So Gucci Sniper just talking about the Ketlin Vieira Irene Aldana fight. I literally dodged a bullet, man. I was so close to betting Ketlin Vieira last week. Just because to me it looked like she was a little bit better than Aldana everywhere. And she was. She showed it. She was absolutely cruising. She was dominating. And then out of nowhere, Aldana with the flash KO. So I definitely got lucky there. Dodged a bullet, man. I was real close to real close to betting Vieira. Luckily I managed to get away from that one. Scar17 said, do you think Pantoja is a strong position to put your money this weekend? Do you know what, Scar? I won't Scar, I won't go into too much detail about the Pantoja versus... who's he fighting? Pantoja against... who the fuck is he fighting? Matt Schnell. I won't go into too much detail on Pantoja versus Schnell in this live stream. It's just going to end up being really long. It's quite a complex fight. But Pantoja versus Schnell was the first fight that I researched when I began researching these fights, just because I thought Pantoja would be free money. It turns out he's not, which is really annoying, actually. After taking a loss on Holloway last weekend, I wanted to bounce back this weekend with a nice, relatively risk-free, rock-solid bet, and I haven't found one of those bets yet. And I thought Pantoja ticked all the boxes for being one of those kind of bets. And after researching it, I'm sad to say he's not. But I will be putting out a traditional breakdown video very soon, where I do 5 or 6 fights in one video. I have the Korean Zombie Frankie fighting it, so I will get to that soon. I'll feature Pantoja Schnell in that video. I'm trying to find a bet for you guys to feature in that video. Haven't found anything yet. If I haven't found anything by maybe tomorrow afternoon, I'll probably just put it out anyway. We'll see what happens. G-Town 5 is said, do you plan on making football betting videos ever again? Mate, I would love to. I would absolutely love to make football content. The problem is, dude, the number of MMA events we are being hit with at the moment is just absolutely fucking disgusting. It's if you look this weekend, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 fights this weekend. Now, say you only spend 2 hours researching each of these fights. 2 times 22, that's 44 hours of fight research this week, not including managing the website, not including eating, drinking, showering, sleeping. That's not including anything else I do, not including writing emails, writing articles, running errands. So as much as I would love to produce football content, the sheer amount of MMA events we're getting at the moment is just crazy, really. And the problem is, when we don't have this number of events, I'm always playing catch up. So in a week like this week, where we've got literally 22 fights to research, all I can do is sit at this desk all week and research fights. I don't have time for anything else. Barely have time to eat and sleep and shower if I'm lucky. I definitely don't sleep much. And then the problem is, because you're engrossed in these events during the weeks, when there's no MMA, you haven't been able to keep up to date on football, because obviously your time is taken up on weeks like this purely with MMA, so you fall behind on injuries, form, how players are doing, how teams are doing. It just becomes impossible, man. So I would love to do more football content, but it's so fucking hard at the moment, dude, to do anything other than research fights. And I know I pass a lot. I know you guys give me shit for passing all the time, but I promise you, just because I don't place many bets doesn't mean I'm not working my fucking chutties off behind the scenes. I'm still literally putting 2 to 3 to 4 hours of research into every single fight, and it takes a lot of time. And that's why it's so demoralizing when you lose a bet on a guy like Holloway, who literally ticked almost every box, because you put all this work in, and then at the end of it you have basically nothing to show for it, or you have less than nothing because you lose thousands of pounds. So yes, that is why I do get a little bit aggressive sometimes in my chat room, or in the comments, because I take this shit really seriously and work hard, and sometimes it can be quite easy to push my buttons. So yeah, I'd love to do football betting videos, man, but it's fucking hard. It is really hard. Sailor is saying you should do a year review video on YouTube, some of your best bets and some that flunked and why and stuff. Yeah, that's a great idea, man. I think I will do a year review video. I'm not sure exactly what my profit and loss is exactly to the unit, because I haven't had chance to update my results page since August, because like I say, the amount of MMA events we've had is crazy. But that is changing in January, guys. In early January, we've got a 3-week break without any UFC events, and I'm actually employing someone to keep certain parts of my website up to date. So from January 2020, you will start to see my website get updated basically every week. We'll be having a brand new members area and things like the results page, things like the betting schedule that we've got on this page, which, as you can see, it's not just the results that goes by the wayside. I haven't updated the betting schedule in fucking ages just because I've never got enough time to do it. But from the first week in January, I'm paying someone to keep up to date on all that housekeeping. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what our profit and loss is on pre-fight bets in 2019. I think it's about 30 units of profit, something like that. I have no idea what live betting is. Last time I checked, we were almost like 100 units of profit for the year, but it's impossible to accurately calculate live betting profits anyway, because odds change so much, liquidity is different, all that kind of shit. But yes, Sailor, great idea, man. I will definitely do a year review. And Gucci Sniper saying Schnell's looked super impressive lately. Yeah, mate. From memory, I thought Schnell was like a chinny, like a chinny BJJ guy. But turns out he's got a hell of a lot better in the last few years. At one point, he was just a chinny BJJ guy, but he has got a lot better. Oh, nice one, G-Town, mate. Tasmanian 187 saying, don't like football bets. The 3-way outcome stresses me out. Yeah, that draw is a bastard, mate. But you should look at the double chance bets, which takes that away, and also draw no bet, which takes it away, and Asian handicap, which also to some degree takes away that draw situation. Yes, Gucci, that is right, mate. Embrace the grind. You gotta love it. What does Gary Vee say, guys? What does Gary Vee say? When I see everyone crying about losing bets, I just have Gary Vee's voice in my head that just wants to say to all people that cry over losing bets, you've got to eat shit and love it. That is what Gary Vee would tell you. You've got to eat shit and love it, because life is a bastard, and that's just the way it is, man. So yes, you've got to embrace the grind. You've just got to eat shit and love it. There is no other way to make it in gambling, because no matter how much work you do, no matter how good you think you are, no matter how much you think you know, it will punch you in the dick. Life will punch you in the dick. There's nothing you can do about it. You got to eat shit and love it. Shout out to Gary Vee. I love that quote. Enough of me talking. That's it. Caught up on Twitch. Let's get into watching some of these fights from Data and Jung to see if there's any betting opportunities on this fight, which there might be. Both guys are around even money. Both guys have got big weaknesses, but both guys have also potentially got strengths that could help them exploit their opponent's weaknesses. So this is a dead interesting fight. Okay, first fight up. Let's take a look at Data and Jung against Sasa Milinkovic from Heat 44. Let's take a look. So, Jung in the black shorts, or is Milinkovic wearing black as well? Jung's on the right of your screen. Let's see what he brings to the table. So, obviously, literally within 3 seconds, you already see a problem with Jung, because we know Mike Rodriguez is this devastatingly accurate, devastatingly powerful, devastatingly quick, high-level kickboxer. And already we're seeing, Jung come out with his hands down low, flat-footed, standing right in front of his opponent with like a really rigid, flat-footed stance. And the problem is, straight away, where you see Da Un Jung stood in the orthodox stance here, his opponent is also in the orthodox stance, right? But Mike Rodriguez is a southpaw. So if you imagine if Milinkovic was standing in the opposite position to Jung, so instead of him standing like this, his left leg would be here, his right leg would be where his left leg is, and then his right hand would be positioned here, and his left hand would be further back, his left power hand. So if you consider, his left leg would be where his right leg is, his right leg would be where his left leg is, and then you look at Jung's body and his head position, if you think, if his opponent was stood in the opposite position at southpaw, his opponent's power left leg would be facing right into Jung. So when he throws the left head kick, which is one of Rodriguez's most dangerous weapons, Jung's going to be wide open to the head kick KO. So the fact that Jung is so slow, his hands are really low in his fighting stance, and he is so flat-footed, just means that he's going to be wide open to the head kick KO, which just so happens to be one of Rodriguez's most dangerous weapons. But you see that threat isn't present as much against Milinkovic, because where both guys are stood orthodox, you see, where Milinkovic's power right leg is. It's not as dangerous for weapon. That's just something I've noticed immediately. There's going to be a big speed difference here between these two guys, and Jung looks very vulnerable, very, very susceptible. Although he's Korean, so he's probably got an amazing chin and he can take it. But then Rodriguez is an absolute nightmare standing. So really what we're looking out for is what we want to see is some takedowns from Da Jung. Because if he stands in front of Rodriguez like this, he's going to get annihilated. I saw him use quite a bit of forward pressure to walk through Ibragimov's shots, walk Ibragimov down, put pressure on him. But what I'm seeing here is a guy that is just going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, look how slow his hands are there. Rodriguez might be a good bet here, guys. You know what I mean? It might actually be a good bet. 1.80. Let's keep that in mind. Da Jung's hand speed is so slow. He's going to get lit up bad. Real bad. Like, he's pressuring Milinkovic, but Rodriguez isn't going to allow Jung to get into that range without inflicting significant damage, because Jung's just way too slow, way too easy to hit. And Texas MMA bringing up a really good point there. He's saying that Da Jung's rigid upright stance kind of suggests that Jung never even thinks about takedowns. 2 seconds, guys. I'm just going to close the door. I'll be back now. I am back. Did I miss anything? We are back. Back. The wife just texted me. She's in bed. She said I was talking too loud and I need to shut the door or I'm sleeping in the car tonight. So obviously it's pretty cold at the moment. Don't want to be sleeping in the car. So what I'm seeing here is against Ibragimov in the second and third round, Jung used quite a lot of pressure. And I was worried that he might be able to kind of, walk through Rodriguez's shots, walk him down, and basically Homer Simpson his way to a win. But if he stands in front of Rodriguez like this, he's going to get destroyed. Because Milinkovic is touching him with jabs here, right? It's not like Jung is able to maintain this pressure and not get touched. Milinkovic is touching him when he's letting his hands go. Scar17 saying you seem very happy even though you lost a few thousand betting on Holloway. I'm still a broken man from that bet. I only bet 200 too. Oh, mate, the thing is, dude, it's just repetitions, right? So it's just like, I've lost like, probably, I don't know, like, I don't know exactly one number of bets I've lost, but it's a lot of bets. Like, fucking maybe thousands, I don't know. Definitely high hundreds. So it's kind of like when I lose, it's like, oh, well, you know what I mean? It happens, man. Losing's part of the game. Losing, the way I look at losing is it's just like taxes. It always surprises me how, like, it surprises me every weekend on my website. If we make a loss, people just come to the website and have like public meltdowns and outrage over like a losing bet. And I just don't get it, because it's kind of like, sports are crazy, man. Like, sports are crazy. Like, it honestly doesn't matter how big of an advantage a team or an athlete in any sport has. The reason why we love sport is because it's essentially drama for men, right? It's like a soap opera for men. Crazy drama, crazy things can happen, and often the most exciting things happen when you least expect them. When you feel the most confident, you get the shocking outcomes. So, like, it doesn't matter how much work you do, how smart you are, how much you know about the sport, how confident you are. Ultimately, we're not betting on robots. We're betting on humans, man. And anything can happen. So when people get like outraged and shocked that like teams or fighters or athletes lose, I'm just like, it's fucking gambling, man. You're going to lose bets. It's like paying taxes. You have to accept. If you're in business, you have to pay taxes. If you're working, you have to pay taxes. If you're going to gamble, you have to lose bets. So it's just, try not to beat yourself up too much, Brian, mate. It's just one of those things. And I will say that if you did lose money on Holloway, there's no way you can get away from that bet, in my opinion. Like, there will always be these captain hindsights that come out and say, oh, it was obvious Volkanovski would use leg kicks. It wasn't. It's bullshit. But the thing is, every bet has risk factors. You'll never find a bet without risk factors. So it's kind of like, if you look at like Holloway, he had a size advantage. There was no way Volkanovski was going to take him down. No way Volkanovski was going to hold him down. Based on past performances, he was a significantly better boxer and a significantly better striker. And then Volkanovski ended up outstriking literally one of the greatest strikers in the history of the featherweight division. No one with a brain could have predicted that. So when shit like that happens, you just got to take it on the chin, man. And just accept it. It's fucking gambling. Anything can happen. For you guys that love football, it's like a huge FA Cup upset. You know what I mean? Like fucking Mansfield Town beating Man United or something. It happens. It happens. Yeah, Dradnail, exactly, mate. Who thought Colby Usman would not involve wrestling? Exactly. And I mean, what I am seeing from Da Jung, to go back to this fight in round 2, what I am seeing from him is similar to what we saw in his UFC debut against Ibragimov, where in round 1, he kind of fought at a high pace, but like not really. Like, he let his hands go a little bit, but came forward, but didn't really pressure Ibragimov too much. Whereas in this second round, you notice that Jung's coming forward a hell of a lot more, being a lot more aggressive, picking the volume up with his strikes. So to me, I'm wondering if like Jung's one of these guys that is a bit of a slow starter, but gets, picks the pace up and increases output as the fight goes on. Now, having said that, Milinkovic has got very slow hands, not really too much power in his hands, and yet if you look at Jung's face, he's taken tons of damage here. And, if it's Rodriguez landing these shots that Milinkovic is landing, trust me, Da Jung's going to be in a much worse situation than this. Because Rodriguez is not the kind of guy you want to eat shots against. And one thing that I'm finding quite encouraging here is that Da Jung's takedown defense is really bad. It's not as bad as Rodriguez's, but it's pretty fucking bad. I mean, look at that. Look, I'm not going to break... Usually I would break down from a technical point of view what Da Jung is doing wrong in these positions. I'd break down why his takedown defense is so bad. But there's no point in doing that on this fight, because Mike Rodriguez isn't going to take him down. Mike Rodriguez is a kickboxer. Mike Rodriguez actually has worse takedown defense than Da Jung, which is very, very impressive with how bad Rodriguez's takedown defense is. So I'm not going to go into the grappling aspect of Jung. We're just looking at what he brings to the table that could cause Rodriguez a problem. But the encouraging thing here is because Jung's takedown defense is bad, that would also indicate that his offensive wrestling is bad, because usually, generally speaking, if a guy's a bad offensive wrestler, they're also going to be a bad defensive wrestler, and vice versa. So the fact that this guy's takedown defense is so bad makes it unlikely that his offensive takedowns are good, if that makes sense. D. Smith saying psychologically he thinks Jung is going to try and put on a show and keep his stand-in for his Korean fans. Could do, mate. Could do. Irish brother saying any more laid back and I'd give Jung a parking ticket. So even here in this third round, right, we see Jung standing flat-footed right in front of Milinkovic. And realistically, like, look at this. Look, right? Look at this position here. So Milinkovic has got nowhere to go. He can't go back because the cage is blocking him, so he's got nowhere to slip Daeun Jung's shots. He can circle to the side, but doesn't appear to know how to or doesn't want to. And this guy is basically a sitting duck to the knockout. He has been since the second round, really, or towards the end of the first. And Daeun Jung is stood right in front of him, and he can just tee off. But realistically, look how slow Jung's hand speed is. And he's not even that accurate. Look at these shots he's missing. Look at these shots he's missing. Milinkovic literally stood right in front of him, and he's still missing these huge uppercuts. And when he is landing, doesn't carry crazy power. Look, he's missed the straight left there. And Milinkovic hasn't moved. So here we see Daeun Jung finally go in on a takedown and mount his opponent. But I mean, by this point, Milinkovic is completely gassed anyway and a sitting duck. I mean, that just got to the point where Milinkovic was so tired, he couldn't defend himself standing anymore. I mean, from the second round, if we go back, Milinkovic was so tired from standing right in front of Jung, and Jung couldn't put him away. He just went for the takedown anyway, and got the fish. It doesn't tell us much, that. It really doesn't tell us much. It does not tell us much. And of course, we can always live in hope that Rodriguez might have improved his takedown defense a little bit, training at Lausanne MMA. But before we get into the next fight that we're going to watch, because I am getting interested in this one from a betting point of view, especially with the odds on Rodriguez improving. 1.87 on Pinnacle. I can't use Pinnacle because they don't accept players from the UK, but that would put Rodriguez at a virtual 50% implied probability. It's a gamble. It's similar to Barrio, but having said that, both guys have for sure got advantages. You know what? I might actually do something crazy this weekend. I might actually parlay them both together. That's got to pay pretty good odds, right? Barrio, call it. I reckon you can get 1.81's a fair set of odds to pop in that parlay. And if we look at Rodriguez, I reckon 1.83 a fair odds. 3.32, yo. 3.32 on parlaying these boys together. Now, on one hand, you would say, why would you want to parlay these boys together? Why not just bet them at singles? But on the other hand, if both these bets are super risky, but at the same time they should both win easily, which is a complete paradox, but you guys get what I'm saying if you're following with what I've said about the Barrio fight and this fight. 3.32, man. You can put a small bet and get a very, very nice risk to reward ratio. I might break my own rules and do something crazy this weekend. Hey, 2019's been good to us, right? Why not? Live a little. Who knows? I might do something crazy like that. We will see. Texas MMA is saying the human brain is designed to hold on to the negative, not so much the positive for whatever reason. Good point, dude. D. Smith saying the loss is worse for fighters. Yeah, 100%, man. Imagine being Colby, man. Fuck me, broken jaw. Talked all that shit. Didn't win the belt. And you know people are twats online. I feel really bad for Colby, mate. I hope he bounces back. Gucci Sniper saying, if you are prepared to gamble, be prepared to lose, is the old saying. Yeah, I like that, mate. I haven't actually heard that saying before. That's a good one, though. And Dradnail saying, who thought Colby Usman would not involve wrestling? Yeah, exactly, man. You could have surveyed 1,000 MMA fans, and they all would have talked about grappling in that fight, and neither guy shot any takedowns in 25 minutes. Alien Fungi saying, you cannot do that against Rodriguez. Jung shows no respect. Yeah, 100%, man. If Jung stands in front of Rodriguez like that, he is in a fucking lot of trouble. CD Brown 89 said Gifford versus Jung is the only one I'm looking for. Is Gifford on this card? I think Gifford was fighting on this card. Have I got that wrong? Gifford here. Can't see Gifford. But maybe that's on a different card. And Sneaky X2 saying Colby's career might really be in trouble. Thing about playing the heel is you've got to win. Yeah, it sucks as well, man. I mean, people put so much emphasis on winning and losing. It goes back to my rant about people that just fall apart after losing a bet. And it's exactly the same. People have the same mentality with combat sports. It's like losing is the end of the world. And I don't understand why, man. It is okay to lose. It is part of life. But yeah, it would be pretty harsh. It would be a pretty big shame if Colby's career got derailed now over that loss after he's looked so amazing. And also, man, again, we talked about Volkanovski's improvements. We talked about Moreno's improvements. Even in a loss, how could we not talk about Covington's improvements? If you look at his striking in the fights against Damian Maia and Robbie Lawler, that is not the same guy that fought against Usman. You know, Colby's hands, his boxing looked amazing against Usman. I know he lost. Doesn't change the fact his boxing looked amazing. And that is not the same guy that fought Lawler or Damian Maia. Colby has improved so much, and I'm sure he's going to continue improving. I'm sure he'll hold the belt one day if he keeps improving at this rate. But yeah, it sucks how people just put so much weight on a loss. I mean, a loss means nothing, man. Who gives a fuck? People bounce back, right? I hope Colby's career doesn't become defined by that. So let's watch this other fight now. Kalilov against Da Un Jung. This is from January of this year, which is very cool. So these two fights we've just watched, or we're about to watch, they are from this year. So we should be expecting similar from Jung on Saturday night. Let's just hope he hasn't done any training at City Kickboxing, or we could be in some trouble. Gucci just saying Colby is a tough son of a bitch. He'll be back one day, I reckon. I hope so, man. So again, notice how I talked about Jung doing this in the Ibragimov fight. You've just seen it yourself in the Milinkovic fight, where in the first round, Jung seems to start quite slow. Just stand right in front of his opponent, quite flat-footed, hands down low, very hittable. And then in the second and third, he seems to pick it up and get more aggressive. So that's something to watch out for here, see if he does it again. But certainly in round one, Jung seems very hittable. Or at least in this first minute. And of course the last two fights that I've watched, Milinkovic and Ibragimov. Hat keeps pushing my goddamn glasses down. Oh, Jung got a little bit wobbled there, you know. I was saying Jung's going hell of a chin, but did his legs go there? Watch the right hand from Kalilov. Looked like he wobbled Jung a little bit. Boom. See a little wobble there with the right hand? Maybe he just got caught off guard by the bum rush. And again, look, we're 2 minutes into this first round, and it appears that Jung does pick the pace up in the second and third. Here we can see, you know, if I'm visualizing Jung stood in front of Rodriguez, he's just going to get destroyed, really, in this first round. We can see Kalilov landing big shots on him there. Texas saying he seems to rely on feints in the first. Getting a little bit more aggressive now. D. Smith saying Colby's striking was better than Usman's. His power seems below average. If Jeff Neal hit Usman like that, it would have been bedtime. Yeah, man, definitely. Although Colby did wobble Usman on 2 or 3 occasions, which I was quite impressed by, considering we go back to the improvements Colby showed since the Lawler and Maia fights. Considering Colby didn't really hurt Lawler that much, even after 25 minutes, Lawler wasn't even wearing that much damage on his face. To then go and wobble a guy like Usman on 2 or 3 different occasions is quite impressive, man. 2 minutes left to go, and Rodriguez, remember, I really feel like the southpaw factor is going to be a huge issue in this matchup. Here, the irony is we see Kalilov fighting southpaw here, and Jung has had a lot more difficulty landing in this first round. See, he walked straight onto a left straight there. We're actually seeing Kalilov southpaw, which is giving Jung some problems in this round. We see Jung starting to close the distance and get more aggressive now, but it appears that it takes him a while to warm up and find his range, and you don't really get that much time from Rodriguez because Rodriguez starts so damn fast. Ben Mooney saying his record is padded as well. Rodriguez has faced much higher level opponents. Jung is open for, and then D. Smith saying Jung is open for the 1-2 head kick combo. Yes, man, for sure. I just think Rodriguez is going to murder this guy standing, and so far we're not seeing too much evidence that Jung is going to look to take this fight to the ground. I would be worried about, even in that position there was an opportunity for Jung to shoot in on Kalilov. But he's looked to take the back here. It's a bit of a concern. Let's see where his back controls. Instead of his opponent trying to stand back up or explode over to the cage, he actually rolled the guard, which is probably not what you'd see Rodriguez do in that position. I feel like Rodriguez would have tried to have got his back tight to the cage, so skip through that. Kalilov didn't really choose the best option there, and in round 1 you would think he would have enough energy to explode over to the cage and use the cage tool to get back up. So that illustrates a little bit of what I was trying to describe at the beginning of the breakdown, and I did a terrible job of describing why the southpaw advantage against a guy like Jung can be so big. Kalilov from this camera angle shows it perfectly. So here you can see Jung in the orthodox stance. His left leg is the lead leg. Here you can see Kalilov in the southpaw stance with his left leg, his power left leg, back here. So watch when he throws this body kick. So Jung fights with his hands down low, doesn't move his head much, and he's quite flat-footed. So we know that one of Rodriguez's most dangerous weapons is his head kick from the southpaw stance. Now, Kalilov doesn't throw a head kick here, he throws a body kick, but try and visualize what might happen if Kalilov could throw a nasty head kick. Just check this out, we'll go frame by frame. So here we can see Jung from orthodox. Kalilov backs up, and he's going to plant this power left foot here. As he springs forward to set it up, he lets it go. Here comes the left body kick. He thought about it there, so actually quite interesting how that played out. So notice how Kalilov goes to plant his lead right foot, thinks about letting the left kick go, but you can see Jung kind of senses it. Notice how Jung just slips the shot. He senses that a kick might be coming, so he slips backwards. But then Kalilov's not ready to give up on it yet. Again, starts to think about it here as he plants the feet. It comes forward again, and now he lets the left power kick go. And this time, Jung isn't ready for it. He's not thinking about it because he's thinking about throwing his own right hand counter to the kick. He's trying to time the kick. He's sensed that the kick is coming, and he's trying to throw a counter to it. But look as the kick lands to the body. Now, here is a perfect illustration of why Rodriguez from the southpaw stance can cause a guy like Jung so many problems. Now, it's not the best example because as Kalilov is throwing the kick, Jung is trying to counter, but one of the reasons why Jung has been able to throw the counter is because Kalilov has telegraphed the kick so much. We've just shown you Kalilov has, thought about throwing the kick on 2 or 3 occasions, and Jung has got a read for it So he's now anticipating that the kick is coming. And then when Kalilov finally does throw the kick, he's ready with a right hand counter and just steps into the body kick, which means it probably takes a bit of the pop off the kick, doesn't land with as much impact. Now, this is Kalilov, who is nowhere near the level of striker that a guy like Mike Rodriguez is. Now imagine Mike Rodriguez in this same position. There's not going to be 2 or 3 telegraphs that a kick is coming. Rodriguez is just going to throw it out there with precise accuracy and light speed, where Jung isn't going to see it coming, and he's going to catch Jung flat-footed with his hands down low, probably with a head kick flush to the dome. And just look at the way that this position lines up. So you've got Jung's body completely open to a kick. And you imagine Rodriguez stood here, like head kick, it's going to be trouble. It is going to be trouble. I think the southpaw dynamic could really cause Jung big problems in this, just because he fights with his hands low and doesn't move his head. I see a head kick for Rodriguez as being a pretty likely outcome in this fight, if I'm honest. Head kick KO, I mean. Obviously, Jung's Korean. He's going to be tough. He's going to have a good chin. But ultimately, there's only so much you can take. And if he eats a flush head kick from Rodriguez, it's probably not going to end well for him. So into this second round, obviously we know based on the other fights we've watched, Jung tends to pick it up in this second round. I believe he also wins the fight in this round and gets a finish. So let's see how he picks it up here. He's closing the distance more. And we can already see Milinkovic getting a little bit tired. Wow. So Milinkovic not liking the pressure. Not liking the forward pressure of Jung there. And to alleviate that forward pressure, shot a takedown. Gets a little bit carried away here. Too high up on Jung's back. Jung's going to be able to shake him off here. And he does. Very, very nice. Very, very nice indeed. Straight into side control. How does he get a finish here? Does he take mount? Remember, he mounted his last opponent and finished with elbows. This is what's concerning me. That even though Jung doesn't actively pursue the takedown, when the fight ends up on the ground, he goes for the kill. He's got his opponent in a crucifix here, chipping away with short shots. Is this going to be the ending? Looks like it is. Yeah, it is. He gets the finish through ground and pound in the crucifix. Alright, cool. Alright. It's a bit concerning how Jung doesn't actively look to take the fight to the ground, but when he gets there, he does do quite a bit of damage by the look of it. And does go in for the kill. Right, let's watch this next fight. This is Daeun Jung's fight against Hulk from December 2017, so about 2 years ago. Going a bit further back here, but let's see what happens in this one. Looks like Jung's got quite a big size advantage here as well. He is the guy in the... oh, this guy. The Valet Tudo shorts. CD Brown saying, no way this ends up on the ground. CD, man, can I just ask you why you think that this fight will not end up on the ground? I am interested in your opinion, because Rodriguez has no takedown defense. So I don't feel like you can't rule out the fight going to the ground. Yeah, it's possible, right? It is very possible. You know, when you've got two guys in Jung and Rodriguez with no takedown defense, it's a strong possibility the fight at some point will end up on the ground. So to say no way this ends up on the ground is a bit aggressive. Texas MMA has said, is Rodriguez sloppy in the clinch? Rodriguez isn't sloppy in the clinch, but he just doesn't... he's very passive in the clinch. So if you tie Rodriguez up and force him to work in the clinch, he just accepts being there. He doesn't show any urgency to get his back off the cage, which is obviously a big concern. Yeah, Alien Fungi just saying that Rodriguez is very easy to take down from the clinch, for sure. Well, Rodriguez is easy to take down from anywhere, really. But so far, aside from that one takedown in the Milinkovic fight, Da Jung hasn't really shown a willingness to get the fight to the ground. Sneaky X2 saying, how do we see Jung's offensive wrestling more? Looks like he has no takedown defense at all. He just loves kickboxing range. Yeah, you just have to keep watching a few more fights, I think, man. See where he brings the table. I gotta be honest, I don't love a bet on Rodriguez, obviously because his takedown defense is so fucking bad and his ground game is so bad. And this guy, Da Jung, clearly goes for the kill when he gets his opponents down. But the problem is he never tries to get his opponents down, really. But then Rodriguez is the kind of guy to do something dumb like shooting on him. Let's watch another fight. So this is going to be Da Jung against Peterson Almeida. So this fight took place in May 2018. I know, another win by ground and pound. This is really interesting because we've seen Da Jung. The 3 fights we've watched from Da Jung have all ended with him finishing his opponents on the ground, which is super interesting because obviously Mike Rodriguez has no takedown defense, but ironically it was only the Milinkovic fight where Da Jung initiated the fight going to the ground. The other 2 fights kind of went to the ground in the weird circumstances, right? Da Jung with a knockdown in the last fight, and the one before that, his opponent actually shot in on him. Got too aggressive, taking the back, ended up slipping up and ended up on the bottom. I mean, you can see, man. I mean, Da Jung is there to be hit. As Almeida's winging these hooks, Almeida stood right in front of him, not moving his head, not keeping his hands up. Da Jung is a sitting duck to the KO, for sure. But these Koreans are tough, man. They are tough. Very, very tough. But you can see he's there to be hit. Quite slow, chin up high and exposed. And like I say, Rodriguez defensively is excellent, at least in the first round when he's fresh. What I'm interested to see here is, obviously Almeida is swinging and trying to land much bigger shots than the other opponents we've seen from him. Will this make Jung more reluctant to get aggressive like he has done in the last 2 fights, or will he continue to not show Almeida any respect and keep coming forward? CD Brown has said, does Rodriguez attempt takedowns? He's one of these guys that... He's one of these guys that's not going to come out and try and take his opponent down, but Rodriguez is one of these guys that will get sucked into a grappling exchange. So, for example, if his opponent tries to take him down, he'll try and get clever and hit a reversal or a switch and in turn take them down, which, because he's at such a low level when it comes to grappling, will often result in him being on the bottom. So I think it's fair to say with both these guys, it's unlikely either of them will initiate a grappling exchange, but that doesn't mean the fight won't end up on the ground, because both guys carry a lot of knockout power, or a lot of power. Both guys are really green. Both guys are quite sloppy in certain areas, particularly grappling in the clinch. They make a lot of mistakes. If both guys get overly aggressive, they could wind up running into each other, someone getting knocked down, someone jumping into guard and ended up in a bad position. We've seen Rodriguez knock guys down in the past and jump into their guard, and it's such a big, like he did it against John Allen, and it's such a big risk, because when you're that low level, you can't afford to be on the ground. Rodriguez should be treating the ground like lava against everyone, and the fact that he is willing to go to the ground with anyone is always going to be a red flag with him. Now, when I saw him jump into John Allen's guard, I was like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Irish brother saying, can Jung weather the storm? Think I'll pass. Jung can weather the storm, mate. He can. He can. These Koreans are tough, dude. But the question becomes, will Rodriguez slow down in a stand-up fight? Because so far we've only seen him slow down in a fight where there was grappling involved. And if there's no grappling involved, maybe he can fight at a high pace for 15 minutes, like we said at the beginning of the live stream. So it's complicated, man. It is really complicated. Because Jung obviously puts these wins together just by Homer Simpsoning his opponents. And obviously it's easier to Homer Simpson these low-level strikers. Will he be able to Homer Simpson Rodriguez without getting death shotted? I don't know. What we do know is Korean fighters are tough as fuck. They've all got good chins. Jung's clearly tough, but at the same time his striking defense is so bad and Rodriguez is so devastatingly dangerous. He is a sitting duck to the KO. But I do worry that Rodriguez may unleash fucking hell in round 1, and if he doesn't get Jung out of there, based on his fights against Clark, and based on his fight against who was it? It was the Brazilian guy. Based on his fight against John Allen, there is a legit chance that if Rodriguez unleashes hell in round 1 and doesn't get Jung out of there, based on those two fights, he might slow down big time in round 2 and 3, because he does become a lot sloppier as the fight goes on. But I have a feeling that happens because his opponents have been forcing him to grapple, and he just doesn't have grappler cardio. He's terrible at grappling. D. Smith saying, I can see a decision for Jung or an early KO for Rodriguez. The only way for Jung to survive is lay and pray. Maybe parlay Rodriguez and the under. Cool, man. I can't see Rodriguez doing enough damage to get the decision, but not the KO. Yeah, fair. That's a good point, D. Smith. That is a good point. Gucci Sniper saying, haven't really seen Jung take a backward step in these fights. Yeah, he took a backward step against Ibragimov, but he weathered the storm. But then Ibragimov gassed bad. And you know Rodriguez is going to have a better gas tank than Ibragimov. He's a hell of a lot more technical than Ibragimov as well. A nice combination there from Jung. That's probably the sharpest striking we've seen from him. But it's fair to say, in kickboxing range, if Rodriguez has got gas in the tank, he gets lit up. There's no question. And that's what's concerning right there. That there is what's concerning. I can't bet this fight. I can't bet this fight after seeing that. That's concerning for me. That double leg there is concerning for me. Because let me tell you something right now. If he does that in round 1 against Rodriguez, he's going to get the takedown. 100%. No doubt about it. He's going to get the takedown. Like, Rodriguez's takedown defense is shit. He has none. It's like he's the male version of Durandame. And this is why fight research is so important. Because I was starting to warm up to the possibility of betting Rodriguez. But then we see Jung do that. And now we can't. There's no way you can bet Rodriguez now. Which is a big shame. But if Jung comes into this fight and does what we've just seen him do there, Rodriguez is screwed. Like, literally, what we've just seen Almeida do, go to butterfly guard and buck Jung off him. Rodriguez can't do that. Rodriguez has nothing off his back. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. So we've seen enough, boys. Ultimately, we don't need to watch any more footage. We've seen what we need to see. This is why fight research is so important. At the end of the day, there's no way you can bet this fight. There are no solid positions to put your money on this fight. Because if we summarise what we've just seen, you can't bet Jung because his striking defence is bad. He's very flat-footed. He's very hittable. I believe Rodriguez coming out of the southpaw stance will cause him big problems. Jung's wide open to the power left head kick of Rodriguez. If the fight stays standing, Rodriguez is going to annihilate this guy. But we've just watched 1, 2, 3 fights from from Da Jung. I've watched 4 fights. He submitted Ibragimov, so he's got grappling there. He won this fight with ground and pound from Mount. He showed some grappling there. He won this fight with elbows from the crucifix positions. We've shown grappling there. And he won this fight with a beautiful double leg takedown. Sorry, this fight with a double leg takedown. Beautiful double leg and ground and pound. So while Jung doesn't shoot that many takedowns, he does have it in his locker. And, you know, at the end of the day, he's fighting in Korea in front of his hometown fans. He wants to be a UFC fighter. It's a big opportunity for him against a dangerous opponent. If he does his homework on Rodriguez, he'll know this is an easy night's work. All I need to do is come out, double leg this guy, put him on his ass, and take an easy 30-27 decision. Or more than likely, he'll be able to mount Rodriguez or get him into a crucifix position like we saw in the Kalilov fight and get a stoppage through ground and pound. Like, it's a real tough fight. The odds are dead accurate on this fight. The odds are so accurate. The bookies have nailed the odds on this fight because Rodriguez should be a slight favourite because the fight starts standing and Rodriguez is very dangerous in that first round. He poses a significant chance at KO in Jung. But at the same time, the odds should only be even because at any time in the fight that Jung gets into trouble or wants to take this fight to the ground, he can, because Rodriguez has no takedown defense. I've seen Scarecrow with better takedown defense than Rodriguez. So this is about as clear a pass as you will ever see. And that is why fight research is so important, because it does the work for you. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out that you can't bet this fight. So that is going to be it, boys. I hope you enjoyed this. I think that this is going to be it for this live stream. Irish brother saying Red Flag City. Yes, I couldn't agree more, man. This one could go either way. Gucci saying it's a pass. Gucci saying you think that if Jung realises he is in with a better striker, he would almost certainly want to take him down. Yeah, that's a good angle. I didn't think of that, Gucci. So what Gucci's saying is, you know, maybe in Da Jung's past fights, he chose to keep the fight standing because he believed he was the better striker. But maybe against Rodriguez, he will accept that he is second best when it comes to striking, and that might make it more likely that he'll go to his wrestling early in the fight. So that's a really, really good point from Gucci Sniper there. Nice one, Sneaky X2. Thanks a lot, dude. Oh, nice one, Ben Mooney. Thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it. And Robinson Canolis. Yeah, I'm gonna do the Barcelos versus Nurmagomedov fight next, dude. So I will let you boys know about that one ASAP. So nice one, everybody. Thanks for watching. Again, I am super duper sorry if I cost you money last weekend by recommending a bet on Holloway and you tailed it. I am really sorry, but I promise you, boys, I fucking promise you, with all my DNA, with every single ounce of stuff I have in me, I promise you Holloway was a good bet. He really was. Like, he ticked every box. Every single box, and you just have to take losses like that on the chin. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like paying taxes. If you're going to gamble on sport, you're going to lose a lot. It's just the way it is. But at the end of the day, as long as you win more than you lose in the long run, it doesn't really matter. And 2019's been a good year for us. We have won more than we lost, and that's the main thing. And I'm sure 2020 is going to be fucking hell. 2020. When I say 2020, I have to check myself there. It's almost like I'm talking about fucking Blade Runner or some futuristic movie. I can't believe that we're in 2020. If you're my age, you will remember that video games used to have like times around about like close to 2020 where they'd show like crazy futuristic shit. So I remember having the PlayStation 1 for Christmas and it came with Wipeout 2027. Let's check this out. Wipeout 2027. Have we got this? Check this game out, man. This game, oh, we can actually get some YouTube going, you know. We can get some YouTube on the go. Wipeout. I hope the video don't get copyright flagged for this. I'll just cut it out if it does. Check out this. So this was Wipeout. a game for the PlayStation 1 that came out in the 90s, Wipeout 2027. So they thought by 2027 we would have these flying spaceship things that we would race around. Maybe we will, man. Maybe drone technology is gonna you know, take a giant leap in the next 7 years, and we'll have like these flying machine things like we had in Wipeout, and these crazy tunnels. Oh, look at this city, boys. What do you reckon? Where's this? We're going to have these huge metropolises as well. I don't know, man. Singapore, Shanghai, Taiwan, places like that. Hong Kong, pretty fucking close already. But anyway, boys, yes, 2020 is going to be a big year for us, because we'll continue to work our asses off. We'll continue to put the road work in like we did researching this fight between Jung and Rodriguez, and we'll continue to find a strong position to put our money. So thank you for watching, everyone. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. And oh my god, I've lost my streaming thing, so I can't actually. This is a disaster, boys. I can't actually. There we go. Nice one, everybody. We'll close this down as well. Nice one. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you haven't already. I'll be back tomorrow on Twitch with another live stream. We're going to be breaking down the fight between Miranda Granger, and it's done it again, and Amanda Lemos. So if you want that, check me out on Twitch. We'll be doing that tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for watching.